It's your friendly neighborhood Spider Dan here. I'll keep it short and sweet. This is literally the most fun I've had with a PVE build in all of my time playing Destiny. So I'm just gonna hop right in here, alright? So first off, you are definitely gonna want Gathering Storm instead of Arc Staff, because your normal punches are going to feel almost as strong as Arc Staff itself. And so this giant like boss killer is going to be much more worth it than this ad clear. Next up, you're obviously going to want Gambler's Dodge as well as Combination Blow, so that you can constantly be punching and killing things to your dodge back and then dodging to your melee back. Your jump doesn't really matter, just use what you like. And I suggest using the shortest cooldown grenade that can actually easily do damage, which would be either Storm Grenade or Arc Bolt Grenade. I prefer Arc Bolt just because it's a lot easier to hit in my opinion. And the reason you need to hit your grenade is going to come into play later. For your two aspects, you're basically just going to want to use not Tempest Strike because it's not really that good for PvE. Plus, you're going to be using all your melees using Combination Blow anyway, so just use these two. Spark of Amplitude, which is going to make it so that you'll be getting even more orbs of power than you normally are, and I'll explain how you make so many orbs in just a minute here. The second one is Spark of Feedback, which is going to give you resilience, which is very good, and one of the main reasons why I chose it, because the other, like, its actual effect is good, but I don't honestly know how often it comes into play or how much extra damage it makes you do. And then you're also going to want Spark of Resistance, just so that you're going to be a lot more tanky, since you are going to be weaving in between a lot of enemies very often. And for your final fragment, you're going to want Spark of Volts, which gives 10 recovery, and that's honestly the main reason I chose it. So now I'll go ahead and explain the other half of the build. So first of all, let's take a look at the helmet. I guess we'll just go down the line. You're really going to want hands-on, so make sure you have an arc helmet, because this thing will get you so much super energy because you will be getting so many melee kills, it's not even funny. Next, I would suggest, if you have a 10 energy helmet, go for melee Wellmaker before Shotgun Ammo Finder, but if you do have 10 energy, I would suggest all three of these. Oh, and also it's important to mention you're going to be wanting to shoot for 100 resilience first and foremost, and then intellect, followed by either recovery or discipline. If you're more confident in your PvE skills, you can go for discipline, although I could say the exact opposite thing too because of what I'm about to explain right now, which is momentum transfer. So the reason you're going to want a grenade that's easy to hit is because you should have arc gauntlets on, so that first of all you can put Well of Ions on, which will increase your melee damage after picking up an elemental well. And second of all, you're going to want momentum transfer in case you ever mess up a dodge, or you don't get your melee back for some reason, or something happens where you're out of both your dodge and your melee. Now, with Gambler's Dodge, even with no mobility, you're not waiting too long, and honestly, it's about 40 seconds for each, so it wouldn't be that big of a problem. But 40 seconds out of the fight in high-level PvE is not good, especially if you're on a time limit. So I highly suggest using momentum transfer just to make sure that if you ever do get into that situation, you can quickly get back in. And then you can use fastball, or if you're going to be fighting champions, you can obviously just swap it out for one of the champion mods here. Now moving on to the chest piece, you're going to want Striking Light, and obviously an arc mod to activate its secondary perk, because you are going to be sprinting around a lot towards opponents, and so that extra damage resistance is very, very helpful. And other than that, the main part of the perk is actually one of the biggest reasons why I chose it. So while you're charged with light, and don't worry, I'll explain in a second how you become charged with light, defeating combatants with melee damage or swords spawns 1 orb of power for allies and consumes 1 stack of charge with light. So this is the main way, well, pretty much the only way that I'm able to create so many orbs, like you saw on the thumbnail, and then just slap on a melee damage resistance, so you get even more damage resistance while you're right in the thick of things. And then on the legs, you're gonna want elemental charge, and this plays a big part because this is the only way you're going to be able to become charged with light. And since you are creating arc wells with melee well maker, you'll get 2 stacks of charge with light, and then so you'll be able to create 2 orbs with striking light, but each time you kill something with striking light, since it'll be a melee, you will get wells back, which means you'll be able to create more orbs, and Well of Ions will make it so you deal more damage. And then I also highly suggest Recuperation. If you can make your pants solar, this is very helpful in being able to stay in the fight for longer, since it will just give you an instant health boost for each orb that you pick up. And then I also suggest Shotgun Scavenger. And again, I did suggest Shotgun Ammo Finder, and that's because your shotgun is going to play a big role in this as long as you have a 1-2 punch shotgun. But before the weapons, let's just go down to the class here. I do have on Outreach, but you really don't need it on at all. I'm just waiting to find something else to put on. And other than that, I have on Font of Might, which I think is pretty helpful. You could also go with Overcharge Wellmaker, but I have on Font of Might because I think it really helps out with improving your weapons damage, since you have nothing else to really buff that. You don't have Radiant, you don't have Void debuffs, so I think Font of Might is a good pick for this class. And then I have on a seasonal class item mod, but it's not really necessary at all. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm so happy with this class, because last season a lot of the classes were surviving based off of only classy restoration, whereas this class, there's no seasonal artifact mods. And there's this one, but that doesn't really count because it doesn't really do anything important. So I'm just glad to be able to say that this will definitely survive into the season after this, and hopefully even more seasons to come, as long as nothing gets significantly nerfed. Now moving on to the weapons. Obviously you are going to want a 1-2 punch shotgun. Without it, you're going to have a really hard time killing elite enemies and those kind of bigger chunky enemies. So I really do suggest trying to find a very good 1-2 punch shotgun, slapping a backup mag on that, and doing whatever you need to do just to make sure that's in either your first slot or your second slot. And speaking of your second slot, it really doesn't matter what you go with here, although I would suggest an energy weapon, since you don't really need a kinetic weapon that much. And obviously you would want to go with a longer range one, which is why right now I have the Cold Heart on. You don't need Ionic Traces on this class, but this can help my teammates out. And I still need to finish grinding out the Catalyst for this, but that's not my main priority right now. And finally, for the heavy weapon, right now I have the Half Truths on just for Eager Edge, but again, as with a lot of weapons in this build, it's not really necessary. In higher difficulty content, I would suggest going for a linear. You really should be trying to craft the Taipon this season, since it's actually insanely good. It's basically as good as the Rage Regret, if not a little bit better, just because Void Shields exist and Stasis Shields don't exist, but that's just personal opinion. That's right, Your friendly neighborhood Spider Dan is doing this outro with this banger of a song. Now's the part where I say something generic to show my appreciation that you made it all the way to the end of this video, which in all likelihood was a short video anyway. Next, I'll proceed to get on my hands and knees and beg new viewers into considering subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that like button. While I'm still down here, I might as well beg for a comment too. My pain is constant and sharp, and I do not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, I want my pain to be inflicted on others. I want no one to escape. This is getting pretty long, so let me finish it here. Remember to stay hydrated, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.